Hi guys, I'm not completely sure I'm going to make any sense at this stage because, well, I am having coffee and it is, 10:30-ish in the morning over here in the Netherlands. Friday the 20th of September, so soon to be equinox time. And I can tell because I've been, chasing good images of carved pumpkins to do that bit next, quite a bit already. And the reason I'm coming on, I'm hoping to make this a bit quicker. But like I said, I'm not even sure I'm going to manage because, it's a bit tiring, all of it. But we're doing really well, I think. I had a bit of I suppose, an experience that I should bring to you, if that's one way of saying it, yes, that has to do with my Kabbala studies. So at this point, I have been going through some shops yesterday and trying to find a book or, some type of an interesting looking information where Kabbala would be, the tree of life would be, given some attention. But not, no luck. I'm still, working with my printouts here. However, as it seems, I will stick a link in the description again, or maybe I have already. I should check for that first, of course. No, I did it yesterday. This rabbi, who explains a lot about the different sides of the tree of life. I watched him a part of his of that video again yesterday, and I don't know what it is really, but it's just making more and more sense to me, because I'm struck really at how most of the times a lot of the philosophical systems or theories or approaches and thought patterns and what have you in the world, at least that I've seen, that I've encountered, have always been quite theoretical, like their theories, right? It's just Plato's ideas and that kind of stuff. And I've always been kind of cool with that, to the extent that you could have an sort of a visualization of a spiritual world that was more or less parallel to this one, or in one way or another related to this one. And you could find ways to kind of, I don't know, migrate between the worlds. And of course, that's interesting to us, right? However, this is an actual, the tree of life as I see it now, is an actual map of how you do move from one world to another, not necessarily the different, buttons on this tree figure here, but especially considering them in their levels or on the size that you're on. And like I said yesterday, to some extent, I have been living on this side, which you could qualify very easily as the masculine side of things, traditionally. And I have visited the other side only very irregularly. And this being a feminine side of mine. And what happened yesterday, or I should say early, very early this morning, I woke up and I went to the toilet and then back to bed. I was, a bit achy from things that we did yesterday, quite a bit of driving, quite a bit of walking, and also some arguing, I guess, because I should start at the beginning of my little story tale here. The thing is that what with people who are, I'm smiling because it's just very universal, and I am the same myself as my husband, whom I complain against, giving attention and asking for attention from somebody else are often linked, it seems. And so I felt like, because my husband basically was worried about a situation at work, it turns out after 3 or 4 discussions around the theme, it turns out that's the case. I end up being at home and what with my things that I worry about and that I'm busy with and all that, and also trying to keep the things going and keep the show on the road and so on and so forth. I find that I end up being this mama at home who provides the meal and the clean laundry, and basically that's it. It's a very familiar, well-known type of situation, especially if you are the woman and you don't work outside the house anymore, or you never have, maybe. It's the kind of thing that's very common. Anyway, I was feeling a bit bad about the things, and I was traipsing around. At the end of the day, we were walking through a piece of forest that we know fairly well, and had generally quite a bit of a good time there, picking up little bits of heather, gnarly bits, and finding interesting looking stones and that kind of thing, and having a bit of a quiet time after the highway and the clients and everything else. And at some point I just got fed up with having to feeling like having always to be this provider on my end of the spirituality, the quiet. I have always got to be grounded. Who's going to be there for me? Who will rub my back? I want my back to be rubbed as well, just as much as the next person. So I said that, and I said a couple more things in the same vein. And it turns out that, so there was this bit of a divergence between the two of us because of the worries at work. And it's not even like it's a complete madhouse or it's very stressful or anything. It's just that people get stressed and they don't de-stress enough again then. So crystallized ginger, by the way. That's what it's called, of course. I knew that. Only the words and the ideas don't always come together. In my coffee, because I like that. So, husband took it really well. He didn't fly off the handle. He tends to at the beginning. You sort of withdraw because he feels attacked. And then nothing much happens for a while, and I go, rant a bit more, and then after a while we sort of find each other again. And turns out later, quite a bit later on, and also in the middle of the night, after having slept for a couple of hours, I felt like, wow, this is really weird. I feel like I have no right to this attention. So this is going to be a bit of a self-care, placing self-care in connection with the Tree of Life business. That's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I might need a bit more coffee than this afterwards. And the pumpkin and pumpkin spices. All that will be seen to quite soon. So yeah, what I did is I realized how very uncomfortable it feels for me to ask for attention, to ask somebody to, hello, please see me. I can do it, and I know that I am doing it, and it's nothing to do with, being a bit histrionic or a bit of a clown, which I can also be. I don't know if I've really ever done that on my channel, but I can be really goofy sometimes, with none of which really works, because if you need serious attention, then because you feel vulnerable, for example, then you're not gonna be the clown. I think, not me anyway. That's not my style. I will be a clown when I feel okay with myself. So all that, and I realized that asking for this, even from somebody who's been my partner and my partner in crime for 3 decades, over 3 decades, end of this month, we'll be married for 32 years. So yeah, it's not like I don't know him inside out and he knows me inside out. So it's just a pattern. It's just one of those patterns that society sort of forces you into, from demanding endless, the same type of activities. It's quite often, it's repetitive. People have come to him with their, clients come to him with their problems, with the same problems over and over again. I guess it's the same whether you do bookkeeping or whether you're a doctor or some other type of support person, really. It's all the same. And you just get endlessly over asked by people, and you have to provide the right kind of support, give them the answers for the things, etc. And it's all really within that database of his experience that this is all happening. So, but the thing that struck me really was, like I said, I am not comfortable asking for this, because back in the day when I was growing up, asking for that was not even an option. I don't think I've ever asked for attention as I grew up until I was 20-ish, I think. Before that, everything was really set in particular ways. I behaved in certain ways, and I may have asked for attention in, whenever, suppose I hurt myself and I was crying, then yes, then I would also get the support that I needed then, because it was more subtle than that. It was the way where it came from for me, I think, nowadays, was point A, quite a bit of hidden in the deep past layers of pain and loss that I'd never been able to deal with, because we kept moving house and I kept dealing with new people and nobody was ever really around. And my mother apparently hasn't really provided me with the support that I needed, because also I didn't really completely trust her, because she was involved in the pain and the loss as I was a really small toddler. So, and a lot of that I don't even really remember all that well. I know some of it. So that's point A. And point B was that, what with moving house and not knowing enough people well enough, what happened was that I spent quite a number of years reading and being bored and being very dissatisfied with my life, but being in a particular surroundings and in some type of context where I couldn't really change anything. And I remember thinking sometimes, like I was, 16 or 18 or so, that I wanted to do more drawing, for example, because that's something that I always enjoyed, and I couldn't make myself. I couldn't get that to happen. So I couldn't do enough creative work. And then I started writing sort of some type of poetry after I was, going to university and on. And from then on, for a couple of years, I used to be quite involved in that. And I was pleasantly surprised that I actually managed to get some things expressed that interested me, and I couldn't really share it with anyone else, but it was something at least. So what I'm trying to say here is, none of all that was really like, I need this type of affection, visible type of support, help with the actual answering of actual questions in life, and being part of, connected to the things. All that was utterly absent. It was weird. It was weird. So coming back to my diagram here, this is the side I was on. And this side, I'm having a lot of help from, not only from the diagram of the Tree of Life as it is, but in particular, really what I'm enjoying a lot is I'm going to try and show you it like this. There's planetary associations here. So this is the side that I've been working with, Saturn, Mars and Mercury, like so. This is the bit in the middle where I am actually most at ease, where I feel best. But in order to be here, I need to develop this side much more. And the sigils up here are Neptune, Jupiter, and Venus. Okay, and then we get the moon in here in the guts of the tree, as it were, and the earth symbol down here. And I believe that's Pluto up there, but I'm not completely sure of that. It might as well be Uranus. Oh, that is Pluto. And so we are not having a Uranus, and probably Uranus is going to be in here, in that crossing area that we've already talked about. Anyway, I am trying to open up actively to remind myself to connect with issues. So this whole asking for attention move, and the way it worked and the way I feel bad about it, etc., kind of coalesced inside of me, and I realized that this is really a Venus department in the chart. So this thing is called, this button on the tree is called Netzach. It's number 7, and its name is Victory here, which doesn't help a bit, because you can call it Victory if you like. I'm fine with that. But I would say it has everything to do with interconnectedness. And so I realized that asking for attention is normal, wanting, needing, basically, somebody to just, do this, or hold you, or show that they're there for you, or make a joke, or talk about something else for a bit, or anything, engage. And you need this. It is not only something you are supposed to be giving. In order to be able to give it, you also have to be getting some of that good stuff. So all this is really relevant to the whole self-worth and self-love development plan that is apparently sort of starting to manifest here, which is a great thing. So yay, happy times. Part 2. So 17 minutes in, sheesh. It's going better than I expected, than I dreaded, really. I kind of visualized, I think it was 5 o'clock in the morning or something, maybe slightly past, that I had this part inside of me that is this Netzach part of me. It's like every of those buttons, I'm just keep calling them buttons because, they're Sefirot, but who cares? You can just call them buttons as long as you have all the lots of them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them, plus a hypothetical one. Okay? 11, who cares? Elements, centers, focuses of attention, and all that. We need all of them, but they're not all really developed. And my Netzach, and the one over it, the Jupiter one, is also less developed than it should be. And probably the Chokmah, the wisdom, Neptune button also. This whole feminine type side of things is, you might as well say, underdeveloped. So I visualized finding this as a person, as a fragment of myself. However, I visualized this as being a young woman, maybe 16 years old or so, in a cage, in a zoo, in Berlin. That's what happened. All of a sudden, I could see this person on the other side of those bars of this cage, where she had been kept all this time like a wild animal. So it's a cool exercise. Please come along to see what happened next. Because first of all, I had a hard time getting her out of the cage, because I had to kind of walk around the cage and then find some type of a gateway. And it really, because there is some type of I don't know what you call that, like a stricture, a rule, this cage should not be opened. That has been in my life all these years. So I'm 53. I have not had access immediately, like one-on-one, with this part of myself. So, or access to this part of myself, I should say. So, you know, it's not like I'm gonna just open the cage like that and please come on out. It doesn't work. I had to decide. I remember doing that. Like, oh, blast, you know, after walking around the cage, one time it was like, it's like there isn't even a door in here. Somebody apparently fed her scraps through the bars and she was still sort of alive. She looked healthy enough, but a bit weird. So I just did this and the bars came apart wide enough for her to come out. And then I imagined, I visualized the both of us traipsing through this sort of middle northern part of Europe, from Berlin over the northern part of Germany to Denmark, walking on foot together for a while. It was not an enormously lengthy exercise, but we passed by a few rune stones in Denmark and then by a bit of the coast, and we ended up in the Netherlands. At first, you know, I'm not so much like all these details matter that much. It's just that I felt like we needed a bit of time getting used to each other. I could tell that there was something coming with me on this trip, like, okay, so like a shamanic journey, if you like. And she could walk really well, and I have visualized her, this young female person, as wearing a red cotton dress, not too clean, and she had really strong legs. From the sort of midriff downwards, she was quite well developed and strong, but her arms were a bit on the short side and not strong enough. And also, at some point, I imagined that after all these, I don't know, 3 or 4 days walking, I ended up deciding that we should go into a hotel so we could all have a proper shower and a bath and all that. And I remember washing her all over and her hair also. And she had like patches where she had hurt her head. Her head was hurting, so I had to be really careful. And there were patches where her hair had fallen out and so on. So I had to be careful of that. I could sort of feel already what this person, this part of me, this fragment of myself was feeling. Freaky, crazy, I know. It's my channel. It's weird. I tried to get her to wash her own dress in the bath, and that's where I could tell that her arms weren't strong enough, because in order to wash you know, something that's this size more or less, you have to do this movement. And I could tell that by now, this part of me that's sitting here talking to you, that has access to Mercury and Mars, is the one that has apparently developed some type of an agency power. But this part of me feels still quite powerless in that respect. So we sort of washed the dress together and we hung it out to dry. And the next morning, theoretically only 10 minutes afterwards, of course, we ended up in my house right here, where I am now. And we just hung around here a bit, and I sat her on the couch, and then I said, do you want anything to drink? And to my surprise, what came out was, I want a glass of milk, please. I don't drink milk. I never have, because you know, it's one of those things. Not that I'm allergic or anything. I just don't like it. But she wanted it. And it fits beautifully with this Venus symbol and this connectedness and this being a mammal animal, you know. I just thought it was excellent. So I gave her a big glass of milk. And it went gloop gloop down. And then she wanted to go to bed, go to sleep. So that's where we left it. And here I am. So after that, I've, you know, slept a couple more hours because exhausted and all that. And I'm not sure, you know, exactly how much has changed, in the sense that I've looked up a lot of pumpkin carvings on the internet, which is great fun to do if you're bored and you don't have anything particular that you want to do at this point, or please go entertain yourself with how insane gorgeous the pumpkins are that people make, because there's websites full of images of crazy insane super pumpkins in all sizes and funny and crazy and creepy and all that. I don't like all of them, but I can admire the the technology, certainly. So I was also looking up tips, because I've carved the one single pumpkin with just the normal face, more or less, that I try to do as well as I can, with the teeth, like that, mostly smiling. At least one time every October, I want to do one of those, stick a candle in and look at him for only, it turns, of course, they don't keep really well. So I was looking up tips for that. And everybody is advising us to use bleach, which I don't own, because I don't think that's a really environmentally conscious decision to use bleach. However, at some website, I also encountered the tip to use vinegar. So I do have cleaning vinegar in the house. That's something that I use now and again. So maybe I can use that, can try even spraying, because the pumpkin dehydrates also, and then it sort of crunches together, and you have to do something against the bacteria, of course, that sit on it and which cause rotting of the pumpkin. So lots of pumpkin business, and I'm in the mood for that. And it's we're going towards the second half of September here, so it's the time for those things. And I cannot tell at this point, except that I did get a Wunyo rune again, like so. So that's a joy rune. That's good. Okay, I got a 7 of Swords card from the Russian. And I suppose that he did put, in this particular version of things, he did put a few of the swords down. It's not like he's carrying all of them like this. He has put some of the swords down. So I might even consider that to be slightly relevant to my Cinderella. I don't know. There isn't really, I don't think there's really a story. Maybe it is Snow White. Except she wasn't white, she did have a red dress. Or Little Red Riding Hood, but she wasn't riding. She was imprisoned all her life. This part of me that is supposed to go out to you guys and go out to my husband and share with everybody and not be scared and not be transfixed all the time with, being hung up on things and all that. You should be a free woman, shouldn't you? And all of us, whichever side of us you're looking at, we should be free to be contributing. And you cannot contribute if you don't harvest and receive as well. So that's my lesson for today. I will buckle it up. Thank you so much for being here, if you still are here. And I'll be coming back on next week, I think. I'm going off to the shop now to get me a pumpkin and some interesting pumpkin spices also, because then I can make a nice mixture and use that for all sorts of things. Because like I've shown you last year, which is still in the channel somewhere if you look for it, I tend to make the lantern, and then what I've scooped out, the meaty bits, I tend to bake in the oven, and the seeds I tend to also harvest and roast and eat. So I have almost no waste with my pumpkin activities, which is great fun. I'll probably be making several this coming month or so. 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks that we still got. So lots of fun. Thank you for watching. I love you to pieces, and see you when I see you. Okay? Bye-bye now.